Welcome to the podcast series Organizational Psychology Insights by CareFor EAP, where we dive into knowledge from organizational psychology to support personal development, enhance well-being, and create a healthy, happy, and highly productive workforce. I am Hoon Kun, your host. In this podcast episode, we're going to explore the crucial role of emotional intelligence, EQ, in decision making, especially in high pressure work environments. EQ skills like self awareness, emotional regulation, and empathy can help leaders handle stressful situations more effectively. When we have a deep understanding of our own emotions and those of others, our decision making process becomes clearer, more rational, and more balanced. Our topic today is Effective Decision Making Strategies with EQ. In the business world, decision making is the ability to assess situations, analyze information, and choose the best course of action to achieve desired goals. It's a crucial skill that requires a combination of logical thinking, problem-solving abilities, and sometimes even intuition. In a corporate setting, decisions can impact business strategy, team performance, and even the survival of an organization. A great leader or manager isn't just someone who makes quick decisions. They also ensure those decisions are accurate and fit the situation. Strong decision-making skills help businesses optimize resources, minimize risk, and seize opportunities at the right time. Plus, good decision-making fosters transparency within the organization, giving employees clear direction and encouraging innovation and creativity. An effective decision isn't just based on experience. It also requires following key decision-making principles. Researchers in organizational psychology have identified 6 important principles that leaders should consider to make well-informed and effective decisions. 1. Applying decision rules. In the business world, many decisions can be optimized by applying predefined rules. These strategies help companies make quick and effective choices, especially in recurring situations like budget approvals, partner selection, or business campaign launches. For example, a tech company might have a rule to prioritize projects with a return on investment ROI above 20% when making investment decisions. If a new project is expected to deliver only a 15% ROI, even if it has great potential, the company would not approve it to ensure resources are used sufficiently. 2. Resistance to sunk cost. One of the most common decision-making mistakes is sticking with an option that no longer works just because a lot of time and money has already been invested. Strong decision-making skills require the ability to let go of sunk costs and shift toward a more beneficial direction for the future. For example, a manufacturing company invested millions of dollars in developing a new product line. However, after the testing phase, they realized the product didn't meet market demand. Some leaders wanted to continue production because they had already invested too much, but the CEO made the tough decision to shut down the project to prevent further losses, even though it wasn't an easy choice. 3. Resistance to framing. The way a problem is framed can have a huge impact on decision-making. Great leaders need to evaluate the true value of an option without being influenced by how the information is presented. This helps businesses see their choices more objectively and accurately. For example, an insurance company presents 2 service plans. Plan A, 90% of customers never need to file a claim. Plan B, 10% of customers will need to file a claim at least once. Even though both statements mean the same thing, customers are more likely to choose Plan A because it sounds safer. A great leader, however, will focus on the actual meaning of the information rather than how it's framed. 4. Consistency in risk perception. A great leader needs to assess risk in a rational and consistent way based on probability principles. This helps businesses make decisions that balance benefits and risk, avoiding cognitive biases that could lead to errors in assessing risk levels. For example, an investment company is considering two opportunities. Project A, 60% chance of success with an expected profit of 10 million USD. Project B, 40% chance of success, but with an expected profit of 20 million USD. If the decision is made based on intuition, they might be overly concerned about the risk of Project B. However, by evaluating the risk consistently using probability theory, the company would see that the expected value of both projects is the same and should consider other factors before making a final decision. 5. Recognizing social norms. In a business environment, understanding social norms helps leaders make decisions that align with the organization's values and business ethics. This is especially important in building a sustainable corporate culture that fosters trust and credibility with customers, partners, and employees. For example, a fashion company discovers that one of its suppliers is using child labor. While continuing the partnership might be financially beneficial, the company decides to cut ties because it goes against ethical and social norms, which could negatively impact the brand. 6. Overconfidence. A wise decision isn't just based on knowledge, it also involves recognizing the limits of one's abilities. Overconfidence can lead to misjudging the likelihood of success, while a lack of confidence can cause a business to miss opportunities. A leader needs to strike a balance between confidence and caution to make better decisions. For example, a startup founder is convinced that his product will succeed without conducting any market research. He invests all of his capital into mass production, only to realize that customers are not interested in the product. This is an example of overconfidence leading to a serious mistake. On the other hand, if a leader is constantly second-guessing their decisions and delaying market expansion despite having enough data showing great potential, that's a sign of a lack of confidence, which could cause the company to miss a valuable opportunity. As we can see, alongside relying on intuition or experience, understanding and applying psychological principles helps leaders make effective decisions, reduce risk, and optimize outcomes. A great leader who makes quick, accurate, and objective decisions is a key factor in driving sustainable business growth. You're listening to the Organizational Psychology Insight podcast by CareFor EAP. I am Hoon Kun, your host. In the past, researchers believed that decision-making skills were a cognitive ability closely related to intelligence quotient, IQ. The theory was that understanding and applying specific principles would lead to effective and wise decisions. However, many researchers in the field of organizational psychology later refuted this view, as in reality, the outcomes of important business decisions don't always unfold as expected. Even when leaders are well-versed in decision-making principles, studies showed that decision-making skills in practice require more than just IQ. Evidence suggests that these skills are closely tied to motivation, emotional management, and practical experience. Specifically, research indicates that leaders who are highly motivated to solve problems find it easier to make decisions in complex situations that require more calculation. Additionally, studies have shown that emotional skills play a crucial role in decision-making, as they influence how leaders interpret past experiences, analyze current situation, direct attention, and compare options to make decisions. This is why, despite knowing certain decision-making principles and biases, many people still make mistakes in critical decisions, especially under stressful circumstances. It is clear that decision-making ability requires a combination of intellectual, motivational, emotional, and experiential qualities. Therefore, organizational psychologists today are particularly interested in applying emotional intelligence, EQ, to enhance leaders' decision-making abilities in organizations. EQ is a broad skill set that includes important soft skills in a business context. Based on Daniel Goleman's EQ model, EQ can be simply understood as a set of skills that helps an individual recognize and manage their own emotions and recognize and influence the emotions of others. Emotional intelligence, EQ, not only helps leaders manage their emotions, but also significantly impacts how they make decisions. Researchers have shown that emotions influence decision-making through several key aspects. When combined with Daniel Goleman's 5 EQ models, leaders or individuals can enhance their ability to make decisions in a more effective and objective manner. 1. Integral emotions influence decision-making. These are emotions that arise from the very decision being made, and they can have a powerful impact on the choice. For example, a leader who feels anxious about risk may choose a safer option instead of a bolder one with higher potential. This is why a leader with high EQ can clearly identify when personal emotions are influencing their decision. Specifically, the EQ skill of self-awareness helps them regulate their emotions to avoid making impulsive decisions and instead consider logic and actual data. Instead of reacting instinctively, they can pause and ask themselves, is this emotion skewing my perception? For instance, a CEO is considering investing in a risky but high-potential project. If they let the fear of loss take over, they might miss the opportunity. EQ helps the CEO recognize that fear, assess the risk rationally, and make a more reasoned decision. 2. Incidental emotions influence decision-making. These are emotions that don't stem directly from the decision at hand, but they can unconsciously influence the choice. For example, a manager might become stricter in evaluating employees after having a stressful meeting, even though the two events are unrelated. On the other hand, a leader with high EQ will be able to distinguish between incidental emotion and those directly tied to the decision. Specifically, the EQ skill of self-regulation helps them manage momentary emotions, preventing them from affecting their objectivity in evaluation. They can ask themselves, am I letting my mood influence this decision? 3. Emotional valence is only one of several dimensions. Not all negative emotions hinder decision-making, and not all positive emotions are helpful in the decision-making process. Each emotion carries its own nuances. Anger can increase the tendency to blame, while anxiety can drive caution. A leader with high EQ not only recognizes their emotions, but also understands how each emotion affects their thinking. The EQ skills of self-awareness and self-regulation help them assess emotions based on the situation, allowing them to leverage these emotions in a positive direction rather than letting them unconsciously dominate their decisions. They can ask themselves, is this emotion helping or hindering my decision? 4. Emotions shape decisions by the content of thought. A leader with high EQ can stay grounded and make decisions that are aligned with the long-term goals rather than being overly influenced by temporary emotions. By fostering emotional awareness and regulation, they can ensure that their decisions are driven by rational analysis, relevant data, and a clear focus on the bigger picture. The ability to pause and ask themselves questions like, am I overlooking important information because of my current emotions, helps them stay objective and make more effective choices. 5. Emotions shape decisions by the depth of thought. Positive emotions can lead to quick, intuitive thinking, while negative emotions may drive more analytical and cautious thoughts. In reality, a leader with high EQ knows when to rely on intuition and when to dive deeper into analysis to avoid mistakes driven by emotional reactions. The EQ skill of self-regulation helps them adjust their thinking to suit the situation. They might ask themselves, am I thinking deeply enough about this decision, or am I being distracted by my emotions? 6. Emotions shape decisions via goal activation. Each emotion can drive a different action. For example, anxiety might make someone seek safety, while excitement can fuel innovation. A leader with high EQ will use emotions as motivation to move toward their goals rather than letting them control their behavior. The EQ skill of motivation helps them stay committed to their projects even when their mood changes. They might ask themselves, am I using this emotion to take more effective action? 7. Emotions influence interpersonal decision-making. In negotiation or teamwork situations, a person's emotions can influence the emotions and behaviors of others. A leader with high EQ will adjust their emotional reactions to achieve better outcomes in social interactions. The EQ skills of empathy and social skills help them understand others' moods and use that understanding to build healthier relationships. As we can see, decision-making skills are not only based on logic or experience, but are also profoundly influenced by emotional intelligence or EQ. When emotions arise during decision-making, they can either become a barrier or a driving force, depending on how an individual identifies and manages them. A leader or expert with high EQ knows how to separate random emotions from important decisions, shape their thoughts objectively, maintain motivation, and leverage emotions in social interactions to make better, more effective decisions. Daniel Goleman's EQ model shows that self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills are essential competencies for managing emotions and improving decision-making quality. In the ever-changing business landscape, the ability to combine rational analysis with emotional intelligence is the key to making wise decisions, minimizing risk, and optimizing growth opportunities. Welcome back to the podcast series Organizational Psychology Insights by CareFor EAP, where we dive into knowledge from organizational psychology to support personal development, enhance well-being, and create a healthy, happy, and highly productive workforce. I am Hoon Kun, your host. To better understand the importance of EQ skills in decision-making, let's take the example of a brilliant female leader from a successful F&B corporation, PepsiCo. PepsiCo is one of the world's leading food and beverage companies with a diverse product portfolio of over 23 brands, each generating more than $1 billion in revenue every year. Founded in 1965, after the merger of Pepsi-Cola and Frito-Lay, PepsiCo is now present in more than 200 countries and territories, offering products ranging from beverages like Pepsi, Mountain Dew, and Gatorade to snacks like Lay's, Doritos, and Quaker Oats. In 2006, Indra Nooyi became the CEO of PepsiCo, one of the world's most powerful female leaders. When she took over, PepsiCo faced several challenges. A changing food and beverage industry. Consumers were increasingly focused on health, while PepsiCo was still largely focused on sugary products and processed foods. Intense competition. Coca-Cola dominated the soft drink sector, while healthier food companies like Nestle were attracting customers. Internal culture needed change. The old business model focused on short-term profits, which left employees lacking creative motivation and engagement. Recognizing that change was inevitable, Indra Nooyi used emotional intelligence to lead the strategic transformation, steering PepsiCo away from stagnation and towards more sustainable growth. Indra Nooyi's EQ strategy. 1. Self-awareness, clearly recognizing the need for change. As a leader with high EQ, Indra Nooyi not only focused on the numbers, but also deeply understood consumer trends and the company's responsibility to society. She realized that PepsiCo needed to change from within to adapt to a market shifting towards healthier products. She developed the performance with purpose strategy, combining business profit with social responsibility, focusing on health and sustainability. She saw challenges not just as risks, but as opportunities for innovation and long-term growth. Instead of continuing to focus on sugary sodas, she steered PepsiCo towards healthier food and beverage options, heavily investing in low-sugar, low-calorie, and nutrient-rich products. 2. Self-regulation, controlling emotions to make sound decisions. Leading a large company like PepsiCo comes with pressure from shareholders, employees, and the market. However, Indra Nooyi didn't allow short-term pressure to influence long-term decisions. She remained steadfast with a long-term strategy, even when faced with criticism from stakeholders about investing in healthier foods, which could hurt short-term profits. She practiced active listening, taking feedback from employees, customers, and partners without reacting hastily. When some shareholders were concerned about the short-term profits and wanted PepsiCo to refocus on sodas, Nooyi didn't react immediately. Instead, she used market data to show that the sustainable strategy would create long-term value for the company. 3. Motivation, inspiring and driving employee. Indra Nooyi didn't just change her product strategy, she also created a company culture that was open and creative, where employees felt motivated to work and contribute. She applied a leadership style focused on supporting employees' development rather than just giving top-down orders. She encouraged a mindset of innovation, allowing employees to experiment with new ideas without fear of failure. She created a diverse and inclusive work environment, especially supporting the growth of women and minority groups in a company. Nooyi even wrote handwritten letters to the parents of senior leaders in a company, expressing appreciation for the contributions of their children. This created strong motivation and helped employees feel more connected to the organization and dedicated to their work. 4. Empathy, understanding customers and employees to make the right decisions. Indra Nooyi believed that a great leader needs not only intelligence but also empathy to understand the needs and desires of those around them. She actively collected feedback from customers to understand consumer trends and adjust the product strategy accordingly. She took time to talk to employees at all levels to understand their challenges and expectations. She fostered a company culture where employees feel heard and valued. When she realized that customers were becoming more health-conscious, Nooyi didn't just change the product formulas, she also actively communicated with consumers, listening to feedback to improve product quality based on real needs. 5. Social skills, building relationships and driving collaboration. To transform PepsiCo into a more responsible company, Nooyi couldn't work alone. She needed a collaboration of shareholders, employees, partners, and the government. She built strong relationships with partners to develop more sustainable products. She created a solid leadership team, clearly communicating the company's vision and values. She used media to spread the performance with purpose story and positively influence the company. She collaborated with the government and health organizations to research and develop healthier food products, helping change customers' perceptions of the PepsiCo brand. Through PepsiCo's success, it is clear that Indra Nooyi was not only a brilliant leader, but also a living example of how emotional intelligence can be brilliantly applied in business strategy. Under her leadership, PepsiCo underwent a significant transformation, turning a brand that was becoming outdated into a dynamic and visionary company. Throughout her tenure, Nui focused not only on profit but also on building a connected company culture, making decisions based on understanding customers, employees, and market trends. Thanks to her self-awareness and self-regulation, she stayed committed to the performance with purpose strategy, leading PepsiCo through initial criticism to pursue sustainable developmental goals. As a result, PepsiCo's net profit rose from $2.7 billion to $6.3 billion during her leadership, while revenue grew from $35 billion in 2006 to $63.5 billion in 2017, half of that coming from healthier food and beverage products. Nui didn't just create financial success, she also built a work environment full of motivation and creativity. Through empathy and social skills, she inspired thousands of employees to work not just for profit, but for a greater purpose, creating value for the community. Under her leadership, PepsiCo didn't just survive in a volatile market, it thrived while many other large corporations struggled to adapt. Indra Nooyi's success lies not just in the numbers, but in the leadership legacy that she left. A leadership style that combines strategic thinking with emotional intelligence, helping businesses grow sustainably and humanely. You are listening to the Organizational Psychology Insights podcast by CareFor EAP. Ladies and gentlemen, one question that many organizations are concerned with is, how can a leader balance personal emotions with real data when making decisions in high-pressure situations? When faced with decision-making in high-pressure scenarios, to balance personal emotions and real data, leaders need to develop the 5 EQ skills by Daniel Goleman. Here are some practical strategies that leaders can apply. Self-awareness, recognizing how emotions influence decisions. When emotions are running high, take a pause and ask yourself, are my emotions distorting my perspective? You can use the 6-second pause technique. Take 6 seconds to think before reacting to any information. Or you can also write down decision-making thoughts to analyze whether emotions are affecting your logical thinking. Self-regulation, managing emotional reactions. Practice cognitive reframing. Change your perspective to view the issue more objectively. When the pressure becomes overwhelming, you can also use the decision delay strategy. Postpone important decisions to give yourself time to reassess the facts. The mindfulness techniques such as focusing on your breath can also help maintain calmness and make decisions based on the bigger picture. Motivation, staying focused on long-term decisions. Internal motivation helps leaders stick with the right decisions even when facing external pressure. To boost motivation, leaders can set long-term goals before making decisions to avoid being swayed by momentary emotions. You can use the future self visualization, imagining the outcomes of your decision 5 to 10 years down the road to ensure sustainability. Empathy, viewing the issue from multiple perspectives. Practice perspective taking. Leaders can put themselves in the shoes of each stakeholder to understand their motives and emotions before making a decision. You can apply bias disruption techniques, consult with various groups before making a decision to avoid being influenced by personal biases. Social skills, building consensus. Instead of imposing decisions, use the collaborative decision-making method to encourage open dialogue between all parties. Apply critical thinking to challenge your own assumptions, ensuring decisions are based on objective data. In conclusion, a successful leader is not someone who eliminates emotions when making decisions, but someone who knows how to manage and leverage EQ to make wise choices. By recognizing, regulating, and using emotions at the right time, they can make decisions based not only on data, but also on the human factor, ensuring sustainable growth for the organization. In addition, Are there any psychological biases that can affect decision-making that leaders should be aware of? In a decision-making process, leaders can unconsciously be influenced by cognitive biases, thinking errors that can lead to incorrect judgments or suboptimal choices. Here are some common biases that leaders should recognize and manage to ensure objective and effective decision-making. Similarity bias, favoring those who are like oneself. This is the tendency to favor or trust people who share similar backgrounds, views, or work styles. This can lead leaders to miss out on diverse talents within an organization. For example, a CEO with a finance background may unconsciously prefer hiring people with similar backgrounds rather than expanding the team with technology or creative experts. This could limit innovation in the business. Anchoring bias, being overly influenced by initial information. When making decisions, people tend to rely on the initial information, which is the anchor, as a comparison point, even if that information is not entirely objective or complete. For example, in salary negotiations, if a candidate proposed a salary of $50,000, the recruiter may unconsciously use that figure as a benchmark, even though the actual market salary could be significantly higher or lower. Confirmation bias, only seeking information that supports existing beliefs. People tend to focus on data that supports their pre-existing beliefs and ignore or undervalue information that contradict their views. For example, a leader believes remote work reduces productivity. When researching hybrid work models, they only seek studies that support this view, while overlooking data that shows productivity can be improved in some cases. Halo effect, judging based on one prominent trait. When an individual has a notable trait, positive or negative, we tend to let that trait influence our overall assessment of them. For example, an employee who is great at presentations might be highly regarded for their leadership abilities, even if they haven't demonstrated actual management experience. Groupthink, making decisions based on consensus rather than independent judgment. When working in a group, people often go along with the majority opinion to avoid conflict, even if they have a different viewpoint. This can lead to ineffective decisions due to lack of critical feedback. For example, a startup decides to expand quickly just because most companies in the same industry are doing so, without properly assessing their own risk. Negativity bias, focusing too much on negative aspects. People tend to focus more on risk, failures, and negative aspects of a decision rather than on potential opportunities or positive aspects. This can cause leaders to miss out on valuable opportunities. For example, when evaluating a new project, a leader may focus only on challenges and overlook the long-term growth potential. It is clear that these psychological biases can significantly impact important decisions in a business, from hiring, investing, and business strategies to human resource management. However, a leader with high emotional intelligence, or EQ, can identify and manage these biases by self-awareness, recognizing when biases are influencing their decisions, self-regulation, learning to delay emotional reactions and analyze objectively, empathy, putting oneself in others' shoes to reduce personal biases, critical thinking, actively seeking out and evaluating opposing viewpoints, building a culture of constructive criticism within the organization, encouraging diverse opinions rather than just following the majority. This not only helps leaders make better decisions, but also fosters a fairer, more creative, and more effective organization. Through today's podcast, I believe that you have realized that EQ is not just a supportive factor, but also a key that helps leaders make wiser and more effective decisions. In a constantly changing business environment, the ability to recognize, regulate, and harness emotions helps leaders avoid cognitive biases, manage pressure, and make long-term vision-driven choices. EQ not only helps leaders manage their personal emotions, but also enables them to understand employees, partners, and customers, ultimately building a strong organizational culture and motivating work environment. A leader with high EQ knows how to create consensus, resolve conflicts skillfully, and make decisions that consider not only data but also human factors. Therefore, developing EQ is not just an option, but a vital strategy for enhancing decision-making quality, strengthening team engagement, and ensuring the sustainable growth of the organization. That wraps up today's episode of the podcast. I would like to sincerely thank all the businesses and organizations tuning in. I wish you a wonderful day, and I look forward to having you join us in the next episode, where we will discuss the topic: successful negotiation. Is the secret in reason or emotion?